Hello, hello, chat. How's it going today? How are you doing? Hello, Gift. Hello, Aqua. Hello, Veronique. How's it going? No cap soon? Maybe. If you don't get the coin, you never get the cap, so. How's everybody doing today? We are cabbing today. And as per usual, we're gonna be waiting a little bit before actually getting into things. But yesterday we covered Astralis in a very, very long stream. Actually, to be fair, it wasn't that long, but it was a long stream for me monologuing about the Mythics. But today, it is a turn of the NCS entry next cap soon. Now, definitely, I think Astrolite is a little bit more of the beloved level, and where a lot of people had a lot of questions about like the art and the ideas and stuff like that, and how we actually came up with a lot of the concepts and shit. And I think that because of that, it's a little bit more of an interesting talk when it comes to Astrolite. But fortunately, I have a lot more to say about Next Cab because I was a lot more involved with this project than with Astrolite. Like, I know that sounds weird because of what I was saying yesterday of all the process, but with Next Cab, I was definitely a lot more involved with the creators themselves and the specifics of what was happening a lot of the time. And so I have a little bit more to say. We also have a special guest for a little bit today. She won't be joining us for too long, but we have Wick today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do.
She's gonna be hanging out for a little bit, so...
I was not involved with this level almost at all.
Well, you have your part.
But I'm here.
And that's about it.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Hello, Aqua.
So, Wick is gonna be here for a tiny little bit. Oh, somebody just rang at the doorbell. I really hope somebody takes care of that, because I am not taking care of that.
Oh, God. Yeah, so.
Anyway, alright, so I think we can get started, question mark? I'm just checking over if the announcement went all correctly. Everything's good, we're chilling. Okay, so let's start with talking about a little bit of NCS. When the NCS Gauntlet was announced, I originally was actually gonna start. Actually, this is where we're gonna start. We're not gonna start with NCS. We're gonna start with Blue Shift. I originally was working on a level with 0SR that you might have seen. It's called Blue Shift. It is a very cute level that we really wanted to get across at the time. And so the second that it was announced, this is what we decided to work on. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Blue Shift for the beginning, because I think it's actually really important to talk about this level. So, in perspective, the Gauntlet was announced, I believe, less than a month after I had... No, actually, maybe around a month after I published Astrolith. The whole team was super happy after Astrolith, and we were all very excited, but we didn't really have plans of making anything anytime soon. So when that was announced, me and Zero 9 I should say, decided to work on this. This tiny little project over here called Blue Shift. And at the time, I felt very burnt out. As some of you might remember from yesterday's stream, my relationship with Astrolith at that time might not have been the best. I was incredibly burnt out from working on an art level for so long. It was basically a month of grinding non-stop. But also, the part that like became really exhausting for me was making art assets with this specific how do I say, style, like ideas. My part in Astrolith was a very like foresty part that focused a lot about the texturing on the grass and the texture on the rocks and different elements, you know. But the thing that actually got to me with this level was the fact that it was just kind of a lot of the same work for me. And in which case, I absolutely don't blame Zero for it. He definitely wanted to do something like this, and I really wanted to help him out, but unfortunately, I was not as present during the development of this as I really want to. It helped a lot with the concept design, like coming up with the ideas and like the general pacing and the general like flow of the level, but it definitely like I definitely took a backseat of this at some point because I just was not able to build in the editor. I was more so helping outside of the editor. And so, after a lot of work on my end of not doing absolutely anything, but just focusing on myself, I talked with some people and I was like, yeah, I definitely probably should take a break from GD. So I decided to take a small break from GD. But then, 2 days afterwards, a level called Summer Gallery release. And now, I've talked about Summer Gallery while we were doing the rankings.
Peak.
This level is very, very interesting. At the time of its release, I didn't think it was bad, actually. I remember seeing these beginning parts, and I thought, wow, this level is actually pretty neat. It has some very interesting ideas when it comes to the deco, and it does some of the things that it wants to do very, very well. Like, you know, it has a theme, it has an ideas, and it's doing a good job. But then I actually, like, played the level and saw the infamous cutscene. And at that moment, I didn't really care. I thought it was kind of just very funny. It looked... Actually, no, I think I remember. We were looking at previews of the level. So the level wasn't even fully released. And then when the first preview of the level came with this cutscene, I was like, oh god. This looks like a cutscene. This looks like a drawing ever. And I was like, okay, well, I think that's fine. Once the level was actually released, and a lot of people talked a lot about how hype it was and how beautiful it was and how the anime characters were super well animated and drawn, I was talking with a couple people that made Astrolith, and we're like, wouldn't it be funny if we just made an NCS entry with the sole purpose of making an anime girl that is a little bit better than this? And now you can say that, well, isn't that very spiteful? And yes, isn't that something that's usually pretty bad to do? And I would say yes. I'm not exactly proud that that is the reasoning why this level was started, but it is the reasoning why this level was started. I definitely do think that this level has improved massively. Like, the creator has been very aware and has done a lot of improvements both for the gameplay and the visuals to make it feel a little bit more polished. And so, hey, props to the creator for at least taking that feedback and trying their best. Very much shout outs to them. And so I talked with a lot of people from the same team, I guess not team, the same friend group that made Astrolith, and we're like, hey, y'all want to do something fun? Let's work on next and this. At the time, we did not have a name for the level, but we all thought that it would be really funny if the name of the level abbreviated to NCS, because of the NCS contest. And so, in that case, after all of that, we decided to start looking for a song. And that is how we found Call on Me by Thorn. It's this very funny song because by a song that has the name Call on Me, it has like almost like it has very tiny motifs on calling. It only has it really at the actual, like, there's just the dial tone at the drop with this transition here. But aside from it kind of just doesn't, you know, do too much on that regard. But I just kind of wanted to go off on the song's idea and be like, hey, we have a song that's called On Me. Could be cool to have like a girl on the phone calling, you know, that could be like the motif, you know, the idea behind it. But at the time we hadn't really come up too much with that kind of stuff. But we're just kind of workshopping songs, workshopping themes, and actually, before finding the song, I don't think you were a part of the project yet at this point, but before finding the song, we wanted to find a theme that was going to be really, really cool. And I think the theme that we went with was a mix of multiple themes. We had like 4 themes that had won like a poll on what we actually wanted the level to be. And since it was such a split decision between a lot of the creators, we decided, well, how about we incorporate 2 of those themes and have a way to like make a narrative around those themes. And so we started the creation process of this level. It started off with a lot of the concept art. Now, if you've seen the Twitter posts, you've seen that a lot of the creators have drawn concepts for the parts. Be it Blooming, being Loco, being Casey, being Lily, Subpixel 2, Peter as well. We know that Red King also had a lot of concept art, and I had a lot of concept art too. So we still had quite a lot of diversified things to like look into and explore. But something that we noticed really, really fast is that the ideas for the 2 different themes had to be separated into multiple parts. So I'm gonna quickly take a screenshot of what the... Hold up. Let me find it. And info. There we go. So just to show a little bit of what it was like originally. I now have a little bit of a better setup so I can actually change and show other things. So for the parts originally we had little themes that we had originally done that were encompassing on the different sections. So for example, in here, for the first section of this level, we really wanted to have that retro urban aesthetics that you can mostly see during Casey and Loco's part, with a lot of graffiti, with a lot of like poppy color for colors that was like feeling very like, kind of like 2010s, not retro to retro, but like kind of 2010s, whoa, kind of late 90s, early 2000s, Jesus Christ, not at all what I meant, with that whole like hip hop kind of urban culture that existed, that you can very much see. I think Casey's part is where like it's a bit more Casey and Skepler's part is a bit more obvious. And then we had the big split, which was the 2 question marks. Because we definitely knew that we wanted to do the urban aesthetics from the very get-go. But when it comes to actually like getting around to the 2 middle sections, we didn't exactly know how to handle the level yet, because some people really wanted to do like that urban punk that we had at the beginning, that very colorful poppy different things, with mixing maybe some elements of cyberpunk here and there. And then a lot of people really wanted to do just a straight up pure cyberpunk. And so we're like, well, how about we have a narrative that progresses a little bit differently? And so what we decided is that this whole first, it's basically like a 2/3 of the level, a little bit less than 2/3 if I remember correctly, focuses a lot on that urban style that progressively gets a little bit more cyberpunk. So we have Lily's part that has a little bit more tech elements to it, Subpixel with the TVs and the flashing lights. Then we have both Peter and Saito with a lot more like neon signs and like very TV-esque approach. Same with Wick and a lot of the colorful designs and the street stuff, like the street signs. And then we get out of the reality and then this virtual reality, and we focus back on a more realistic talk on this. That we wanted to focus more on the cyberpunk aspect of it. Now, I think a lot of people find the fact that we changed the style kind of midway through the level very jarring. A lot of people didn't like that as much because they felt like, oh, it's just very inconsistent. Which is a very valid argument to have, to be fair. It does have a couple flaws by having this mentality of like, hey, you take a level that you have established a very unique and specific art style on, and then you're completely flipping it on his head by making something that is entirely different. And so we really wanted to make it sure that this was integrated as best as possible in a way that it made sense. So we had a lot of the different imagery of like, hey, you're jumping out from TVs, you're like bouncing between realities, but between TV channels. There's different things that are happening that looks like as if you're traveling between like different TV networks, Um, and so once we get out of the last TV, which happens to be the transition between Wick and Validity, you can see here that like you get out of the TV, you actually come back to the real world. And I talked a little bit ranking the Mythics a couple days ago, but the whole what's it called? The whole like the whole similarities to Ready Player One, of like, yeah, like you're in a virtual world and everything like looks great and perfect and cool, and you come out of it and it's like this really cyberpunk dystopian kind of vibe. So that's what we were going for when we designed the separation between the two. Obviously, it could have been communicated better. I definitely feel like the way that we transition out of it could have we spent a little bit more time on it, but unfortunately this transition was done, I think maybe like a couple days before the level was finished. Wick, you may correct me there, and since you were the one who made this.
No.
I think this was done like 3 days before the level was finished.
I don't know if that's true, but this was very like late.
This was super late because the transition was done as we were merging.
Third transition I made for
Yeah.
like the third version of this transition that I made.
Yeah, this transition had a lot of different versions, and this is the one that we ended up with. I think you had your help from Ouch and
yes.
Who was it again? There were 2 people who helped you, I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember.
That's okay. But yeah, it was very much a oh, it probably was just me, now that I think about it. But with the easings. But it's okay. In the end, this transition was done, and we just kind of kept the thing going because we're like, we don't really have time to focus too much on making this transition feel perfect. We gotta get the level done because there's a deadline. And in retrospective, we have done a better job at communicating this? I definitely feel like we could have, but I'm still very proud of the team for the amount of work that they did to make this still feel very good. Hello, Noivern, how's it going? And hello, Xbasps. And Walter the boss. So, the biggest thing that some of you might know is if you've seen any of the concept art that I posted originally on Twitter, or that you might have seen some of the previews of the memes that we ended up having on what's it called? On the community post.
The community post.
Yeah.
I think that was my biggest contribution to the level.
That probably was, yeah. We had
I did a lot of those.
We had some concept arts. This, for example, was the original concept art for my part. And as you can see, the colors are very, very different. These colors are a lot more vibrant. I still have the neon elements, but I have a lot of different things that didn't end up being a part of the project. As well as just, yeah, the color scheme is completely changed. When you actually get to my part is a lot darker, and the contrast between the neon lights and everything else is a lot higher. So why did that happen? Well, the biggest reason as to why that happened is Volity right here. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put a lot of blame on her. That is a joke, obviously. So Volity decided to go with a very specific color scheme, and since you all know she makes progress super, super fast, she had a lot of this done very, very early on. And that made it so that, for example, because of the progression of the colors of her part, having our parts be brighter than hers just kind of doesn't make sense, you know? Like, as you're progressing through the level and getting deeper and deeper into the city, I feel like the colors should not be as brighter because of, like, you know, smog or air density or whatever you want to call it. Like, even if the progression is just, oh, it gets darker over time because it becomes nighttime. It was a progression that we wanted to maintain, and since the level was dying down in intensity because of the song too, like the song is not as intense at that point, we really wanted to make sure that the parts became darker. So, for example, in this case, my part became definitely darker. But anyways, let's not get ahead of ourselves too much. Let's actually start with the first part. Now that the theme has been a bit explained overall, and you understand that there's a big difference between the virtual world with all of these poppy, bright elements, and then the more real world with a more cyberpunk aesthetic. So, time to start. This is Blooming's part. Blooming is an insanely fast and talented creator. Jesus Christ. Blooming did this part in like 4 days. Genuinely. So the way that the level was structured is that we wanted to make this level in a span of 2 weeks. Because we started this level 2 weeks before the original deadline. So the original deadline, if I remember correctly, was like October... what was it again, Chad? It was like October 5th, maybe? No, definitely, no, October 5th, definitely. Was it October 5th? No, September 5th, maybe. Because I think the final deadline was October 5th.
I know.
I think this was the original deadline. It was September 5th. And we started this project around 2 weeks in August, like 12 or 13. Something like that. We started
Deadline September 5th on the original image.
Yeah, exactly. So we started this project 2 weeks before the final release. So the way that we wanted to do this project is that we would have a team called Team A. Or, well, I wanted to write A, but I wrote 1. And then we had Team B. Team A would work during 1 week, and then Team B would work during the second week in order to align with people's schedules a little bit better and give them a little bit more flexibility in order to be like, hey, if you had an exam during the first week, then you can be part of Team B and work on that. However, the issue with that was that a lot of people ended up being part of Team B, and not only that, but not everybody needed to finish in this original planning that we had made at the same time on Team B. There was no way that Team B had extra time. However, Team A, technically speaking, did have the extra time that bled over onto Team B. So it became a bit of a mess at the time, but a couple days into the once we started with Team A, we had the extension that gave us basically a free extra month. So we went back and decided, okay, well, let's make the gameplay. So I decided to make all of the gameplay by myself originally, and I didn't really have too many ideas for these segments after this over here. So after this ship, I didn't really have any ideas, and I was like, hey, Subpixel, would you like to help me out with the gameplay? And so Subpixel did this part, and the gameplay for this part. And then once it comes back to the robot, it is back to me again. So those two parts that are also usually the ones that people complain about the most in terms of gameplay, well, you know who to blame. It is, unfortunately, again, Subpixel gameplay, like in Astrolith. I feel like we're starting to see a pattern.
Tell what the gameplay is Subpixel.
I feel like we're starting to see a pattern here. Hopefully we don't have Subpixel gameplay for any future levels. So we did the gameplay, and then we gave the gameplay, we balanced it out, we had a lot of people play test it, and at the time, if any of you have seen the video on the gameplay is really fun. It's why I think a lot of people like, when I see them complain about the gameplay of this level, I'm like, no, the gameplay is actually really fun. I don't think the gameplay had many issues. I think the gameplay was a lot harder originally, and then we nerfed a lot of things to make it a lot easier. But I understand where the complaints mostly lie, and we'll talk about them as we go. And so Blooming, very fast. Blooming, Subpixel and I hopped in a call. We were like, okay, let's just show some concept art, because we are all on Team B. So during the recon Team A, well, we can actually draw some concept art. Blooming just went by and started drawing a bunch of emotes, a lot of really poppy stuff, all of these signs in the background, and it turned out to be super cool. So he just went into the editor and popped off.
Yeah,
as
it's
you
like
can see,
very fast, and it's like one of his best parts as well,
yeah,
in my opinion.
genuinely.
Like the block design is like peak Bloom block design.
Genuinely, Bloom's style is so original. I think that there's very few people who can pull out this really flat shaded style with very many different colors and very different tones and values in order and still make it feel as vibrant and as good. Like, it definitely doesn't feel like this part is hard to read. It does a perfect job at incorporating the gameplay, and yeah, it is really, really cool. Blooming did an absolutely fantastic job with this part. At one point, Blooming was like, okay, I'm done, and we felt like there was a couple things missing. So the first thing that, like, it was that this part just had no movements, it had no pulses, it was kind of very static. And so Blooming passed the part around, and I added the pulses, I added some movements, I added this effect at the beginning that I think looks really, really cool. It's super simple again. It's definitely just a very, very simple effect, but I really like adding this at the very beginning to give that tension of, like, the build up of going into a virtual world. And then I added some small details, like, for example, like, you can see that these have, like, a chromatic aberration that is baked into the level. It's not the chromatic aberration trigger, it's actually in the level. And then, boom, this part was done super fast, super efficiently. It was amazing. Blooming, 10 out of 10. Would have in my collabs again. If he showers, though. He needs to shower more often. I beat the level of the coin like 3 times. The gameplay overall is very fun. Thank you. I did think that the gameplay was very fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it. The hard eyes face.
Wait, can we zoom on the blooming emoji?
Which one? There's like 20 of them.
The one. The hard eyes one. Is it? The column blooming column. Yeah, this one.
Thank you, Wick.
Thank you.
Anyways, like, getting on to the next part. So originally, when we were talking about concepting, Loco had made a concept for his part very, very, very early on in the process. We had barely started, we hadn't even done the gameplay, and Loco had already designed, like, the fact that he wanted to do these crates with a really cool style. And so when seeing that concept art, I took that into account for the actual gameplay and the structuring of the entire part. If you go back and actually look at the layout, you'll see that for the most part, the gameplay is still very in line with the fact that these structures are made the way that they are. Matthew Game updated the Tears of Denial description to credit the games. Hold up, chat. We're taking a small detour. We're taking a small detour. Shout out to the game Worldless, Blasphemous, Elden Ring, the middle. Oh my god, dude, it is. Okay, sure. It is funny because before even, like, playing the level, just by looking at a video of it, I pointed out the fact that those were the specific games that he took reference for, and when I actually played it, I literally called out each move that is from each of the games, and I was right. It is Elden Ring and Blasphemous. There you go, chat. I was right. I think by crediting Elden Ring, he'd probably just in his head credit all of Dark Souls 2 and From Software, but you know. That's so fucking lame. That's crazy. So, coming back to Loco's part.
Oh, sorry.
Good. Coming back to the Loco's part. Now, we're gonna have to delete this low graded from building from Blooming because it's hiding the transition. But as you can see, Loco's part has a really, really cool transition. Actually, I think I can probably practice mode this level, right? This level won't break on me like everything else. No, it definitely will. I forgot to change the time warp. You know what, actually? Delete our surplus. Here. Let's do it like this. So we have this whole transition of this is really cool. Because when Loco and Blooming were talking about a way to transition in between the parts, I don't remember who suggested this actually, but I remember Loco showing me like a what he thought could be this, and then Blooming and him actually doing it was absolutely incredible. The fact that this is such a cute little effect, but it's super simple really, because it's very much just abstracting Blooming's part and scaling it all down, while also having the TV, which is really big, also scale down in order to match the perspective of the background. And all of that is masking the background that is behind Loco's part. So Blooming's part has just become really, really small, and it's just really, really tiny over here. And that is such a cool masking effect. Like, it's super simple, obviously, when you like actually know how to do it, but it's such a neat little thing, and it adds so much charm to the part. There you go. And then you get out of it, and then Blooming's part is just there on the TV. And there's a little effect you can see you can't see very well here, but there's a little effect that like leaves makes the here. Maybe do this. Yeah, you can kind of see there's like a very staticky effect on top of everything that like shows that like, oh, this is a TV. That's such a cool little detail. And then we get actually onto Loco's part. Loco's part had a lot of different things going on. Originally, he wanted this to be more like a pier, but I think over time, it started becoming more like I think it still has the atmosphere of a pier, but it doesn't have the original intent of it being like next to water. I think if that was the original concept art, I think it was next to water. Now it has like a city in the background with the bridge. Again, trying to do some reference and connecting the parts together with which is funny because these were done separately, but with what Casey ended up having after, which I think was done the other way around. Loco had, I think Chun made this part of this background, and then Casey ended up using this background as inspiration for his part later on. But yeah, I think that Loco's style is super, super cool. It's so clean to see such cute and stylistic designs with the very broad strokes of outlines, and also the halftones bone embedded into the shadings of the design and the background. I think it's super awesome. On top of that, we have all of the stickers, like we have Loco's tag with the Count Black over here. We have Black Corp. We have the little cat. We have the little graffiti. We have the little heart stickers, the star stickers, and then we have Bogart that is dead. Genuinely, this part was super cool because in the end, Loco stayed super, super truthful to his original vision. Like, if you look at the sketch that he made originally and you compare it to this, they basically look like the exact same thing. There is very, very few differences. Yes, okay, so it was Loco's suggestion. Thank you for that. Loco was the one who suggested it. Really, really cool. And so yeah. There's not too much to say about Loco's part aside from the fact that it is absolutely incredible. I can understand why a lot of people would see this as their favorite part. Also, taking up the little sleepy particles from Astrolith. But yeah, it's just so unique. There's so many unique, colorful things, and it's just so good. I have no words. Loco is such a talented and amazing creator. But then we come to this transition. This transition and the next transition are by far the worst things that I have done in this level. Not in terms of like quality, but how many times we had to make them. I think this transition went into like maybe 15 different versions. Loco, Subpixel, and I all worked on this transition in order to make it kind of look decent in the end, and I think we succeeded. I think the transition looks really cool right now, but holy crap was it exhausting. We put so many different things into this and tried to make it work, and then it ended up just kind of not working most of the time. And so, yes, as you can see, we have 3 big arrows pointing towards the wall, obviously referring on the joke of next cap soon by using the same 3 words and, you know, doing something very funny with it, being next wall soon. Obviously, super unoriginal joke, but the animation is very, very cute. It's done very, very well. I think Subpixel was the one who animated these. And then you have the wall that is in perspective to match a little bit between the 2 parts, because one of them was in 3D and the other one was fully 2D. So you have a little bit of parallax there. and then the wall breaks, and then once you go through it, it speeds up, and it has this frame animation that spins around with some impact frames, and then boom, we're out of it. And we get out of Casey's part with little flying bits of particles. Super cool transition in the end. I definitely think that the amount of time and effort that we spent on that transition does not actually reflect on the transition. There is like maybe, oh my god, I swear there's probably 10 different versions of that transition that exist. I would not even be surprised if there was. So we get onto Casey's part. Now, Casey's part is a bit of a weird one because it's actually Casey and Skepler. Skepler, again, the meme is still ongoing. Decided to join this collab very early on, but unfortunately was not able to be there because I'm pretty sure he was graduating. Which again, nothing wrong with that. You're graduating, of course. It is absolutely understandable. But that is when we realized that hey, we need to get the part done. We have like maybe 2 weeks before the final deadline, and this is when the extended deadline was already set up. So we need this part to get done soon. So we brought on Casey from outside of the original team. Casey wasn't a part of the project at the time. We're like, hey, can you help us do this real quick? And then Casey pulled out this part in like maybe 5 days. Genuinely, another super fast and talented creator. Y'all have seen me praise Casey for so many different things before. Casey is so talented. And this is probably the part in this level with the most references, with maybe the exception of my part. But this part is absolutely great. There is so much effort put into the specifics of this part. Like there's so many little details that I think are super cool. Yeah. So once you get to here, we have different buildings in the background, all with different graffiti, all like referencing different little things. We have Next Yap Soon that is in there. We have Melu Melu. We have a Revere 3 that is somewhere in the background. I forget where it is. We have a bunch of little different things. And in the end, we have Skepler's logo and Casey's logo. So the atmosphere in this part, I genuinely think is some of the most unique too. Like it definitely feels like an entirely different thing, and it's so cute. I think it's really hard to talk about this part without praising it so much because it is such a different thing. I don't think we've seen many things like this in GD levels. I think it's very rare to see a part that looks so modern, but also so artsy, but also so different from everything else that exists. I don't know if you would agree with me there, Wick.
No, there's things about it. I think both you have Skepler is very clean and very pretty modern block designs, matched with Casey's very like
rough and
3-dimensional background.
Yeah.
You don't really see 3D like this in modern levels with like designs this clean.
Yeah, like the designs are
so
super clean, super modern.
There.
And it's just like, I don't know, it just feels so different. It feels so well, even though it's like, it kind of clashes to have the big 3D background with the very like clean 2D foreground, but it just kind of works. Is it crazy? It just kind of works. And yeah, so this part also has a little bit of the halftones, tons of little details like the trash cans, the spray cans over here. Obviously, we'll talk about the coin tool at the end when we get around to it. The colors are amazing too. This is probably the most colorful part in the entire level, I'd like to say, with maybe Saito being the only exception.
I think Saito.
Yeah. I think, but this is definitely one of the most colorful parts in the level. It's generally so cool. It is so atmospheric and it's so immersive. And I think it does a very good job at feeling very open while also constraining you. Gameplay is definitely the part that a lot of people complain here. It feels very unintuitive. That's a little bit on my bad. I made the gameplay of this originally with the intention of this feeling a little bit more like bouncy, but in the end, since the idea that Scalper went with was a little bit more restrictive, ended up becoming a bit of a more, you know, claustrophobic part, but not too much. Next up,
there's a lot of open spaces in the part.
Oh yeah,
and like it goes between being more constrained and more
more open.
open.
Hmm.
Which I remember also being a bit of a headache with the hitboxes.
Yeah, I think the hitboxes now are a little bit better to how they were originally. Like I think we made sure that to like make the hitboxes a little bit more consistent. Because before you could just like go freely anywhere, and it was like way too hard to like understand what was gonna kill you and what wasn't. So I think it's a little bit better now, but I do understand why some people have a little bit of complaints with the visibility of this part. The thing is, there's jump indicators, and since one of the few parts that actually has very clear jump indicators, and it's like a very straightforward part. If you just click on the jump indicators and the orbs, there's no fakes or anything, you should be fine. Next comes, I think, the transition that a lot of people have an issue with. This transition is very cute because obviously it's showing the background of Lily's part coming up and you're going into it, but it does leave you blind for like a couple seconds. The background is just completely white, and then once you got to it, usually if you see a structure right here, you just kind of want to click immediately, which is totally valid. I fixed this by adding a pad here that bounces you back up, but it's one of these things that like I understand why a lot of people would want to click immediately here, mostly because you see a pad here, so your vision is like, oh, I should go down here and get this. But it is a timing that is obviously not super intuitive. The other thing is that there are spikes in this section that are blue, which are these spikes over here. You can kind of see them down here, but then there's also these sections where you can actually walk across that are also blue. Hello, Floyd, how's it going? I'm doing pretty good. And so I think a lot of people thought that like, hey, these sections right here should also kill me, but they really don't. Those sections don't. It's only the spikes that are spiked shaped and spiked looking that actually do kill you. So it was a bit confusing, and I think that we could have done a better job at implementing the gameplay there. Maybe like not allowing the player to click or something, or making it a little bit, maybe changing the composition. But we realized this thing like very late into the actual development process. I think there was like a day left when we changed that to be a little bit better. But Jesus Christ, a
Yeah, I
spike
mean
key.
that specific part is like doesn't really matter because whether you not click or click twice in quick succession, it's fine.
Again, the
Either
part
way,
is
it's
auto.
fine. If you miss it,
The part is
then
auto,
it's
so.
auto. If you like read it fast enough to click, then you click,
Mhm.
and it's like
I know, but for a level that
start.
was designed to be an 8 star, that's definitely a little bit more of a um of a misstep in our end, which is probably what made up this level being demon, is some of the transitions being a little bit unreadable, but it's okay. But now we get onto Lily's part. Lily is another super fast and effective creator. We hadn't worked with Lily before, as you know that this is not exactly true, but as you know, Lily wasn't a naturalist, and this is the first person who actually no, Casey is technically the first person, but this is the second person now who was a naturalist and was joining us here for the first time, and if you've seen some of the concept that Lily shared, let me try and get them for you. If you,
Shout out to Lily's train, by the way. It felt kind of bold to me to like put a very desaturated looking green, very green, dark green train and
mhm.
this very vibrant part, and I think it works really well.
Yeah, it's
Personally.
surprising. The colors, surprisingly enough, do work very well. So let me get a little bit of the concept art that Lily drew and show y'all a little bit what it used to look like. So when we were making the concept art originally, we hadn't really distributed the parts, and parts hadn't really been assigned, but Lily had decided to make some different concept art. So this is the original thing that she made. She really wanted to go for the train station kind of look, the very futuristic, very poppy look. This feels a little bit more similar to what I actually had originally in terms of concept art, with like the very TV screens with the very neon lines and the more contrasting darker colors. But then you can see then afterwards when she actually made her part more like what she wanted to, she started drawing on top of the gameplay that you originally see here. Like, as you can see, originally there were spikes here, but we thought that this was a little bit too hard, so mistake on our end in the end. Um, and she drew on top of her part a little bit like Dio and I did for our original part in Naturalist, which is something that we recommended people do quite a lot in this project, since it would give them a better vision of what to actually do. And so as you can see, the idea of like having all of these little things here, like the different elements zapping in, and with the text and the block designs, all of them were drawn originally and then put into GD later on by Lily. Which is a super, super cool thing to do. I definitely think that drawing your part like drawing on top of your part to help you visualize a little bit of the concepts and the ideas is definitely an amazing thing to do. So my music keeps pausing for some reason, and I don't get why that is. It's probably because I'm in a Discord call. Just setting.
My bad.
No, I don't think it's. I think it's fine. I'm just checking why the songs keep pausing. It's like Discord knows that I'm like listening to music and also in a call, so it's weird, but I don't know. The music keeps pausing for some reason. Apologies for the VOD watchers and for chat.
I've experienced that before myself.
Anyway, we actually get a lot of really cute frame animations from Lily. Of course, Lily tries to use different aspects, like these little windmills in the back that are frame animated, but we have the TVs and all of these stuff that are like very dynamically animated, using the scale triggers, using pulses, using different things. And I think it's really, really cool that it has such a comic book vibe, such a cartoony style, that it fits very, very well with the beginning part being more cartoony, more aesthetic with those things, but also having its own unique, very clean city look, integrating itself more with later parts of the level. And yeah, I really like this part. I definitely think that some of the gameplay in this part could have been made a little bit better. I will blame Subpixel for it, because this is the only part that I had made original gameplay to, and then Subpixel changed later because I didn't think my gameplay was good. So if you want to blame anybody for the gameplay on this part, you can also blame Subpixel. Obviously, again, I'm joking, chat. Do not harass or anything with Subpixel. We are just joshing around. He's a very good friend of ours.
Please be very friendly to Subpixel.
Yes. So, and now we get to this transition. So when we got to here, we had a lot of different ideas. I think the first idea that people had was going into the train. So you see the train in the background. We would go into the train and like go through it, and then would see somebody calling, because you kind of hear a ringtone in the song in this part. We would see somebody calling another person and be like, you know, that would be like the thing. But then we were like, that we don't have time for that. That is way too complicated. And so we decided to be like, okay, well, how can we work around this? How can we make something that's really interesting, that looks good, but also, you know, kind of feels very original, feels in theme of the level. So since we were doing a lot of screen transitions with like going into different like realities and stuff, we're like, it would be really, really cool to have some MoGraph that kind of shows like a dial tone as you're actually calling somebody, and then it transitions into some subpixels. And then for the text, we had a lot of different ideas, but obviously next call subpixel was the one we ended up with, because obviously NCS, we wanted to keep the abbreviation memes going on. I will talk more about why we call this level next capsule towards the end when we get to the coin, but for now, just know that at this point we had the name for the level. And the theme of the level and all of that was completely set and done. Next, we get to Subpixel.
It's really difficult to like stop people from putting the name of the level everywhere. I remember as well.
Well, yeah, that was a big issue, but we'll get around to it once we get there. I think that the biggest thing to take out of Subpixel's part is the fact that it feels so it feels so different from everything that we've seen from modern creators at the time. I feel like modern art has been evolving so much in the past couple years. It definitely feels like a completely different genre to what it was originally. And it's really, really cool to see so many different takes on what we originally thought modern was. And so we get to this part right now, which becomes, thank you for the bug, becomes kind of like the drop of the level. Obviously, there's two ways that you can see the drop. You can see the drop as like the last section, or this. I don't know exactly what the song considers a drop. I would have considered this the drop. And we get to a very vibrant, colorful... Oh, we are mini. We should not be mini. Why are we mini? We get into this part that is still very vibrant, very flashy, and also very orange. Now, why is it orange and not more
So
colorful?
orange.
No more colorful. Honestly, I would love Subpixel to explain this one to me. I have no idea why this part is so orange, but I love it. It feels so right. It feels like it works perfectly well within the themes of the level. Like it's just there's something about it that like radiates. Like, yeah, this feels orange to me. You can see that like there's a lot of different aspects of art floating around, a bit reminiscing of older knots styles, and maybe actually also new knot style with what's the gambling level.
The gambling. I was thinking about this way up with the floating cards.
Yeah, well that's mostly what I'm referring to with the older stuff, but the gambling level also has this. But yeah, just a lot of things floating around that are elements that, like, again, very urban, very poppy, very graffiti.
Capsule.
Like, yeah, capsule.
Yeah, the new one.
We have the little coin floating around. We have the spray can. We have the cones. We have little particles. The skateboard. You know, so many different things. Hello, Maddie. How's it going? And I think that complements the aesthetic very well. And this is the part where we take off a little bit from that more poppy vibe, and we actually get into a more like streetwear kind of, not streetwear, but like and we're focusing on the urban stuff, but less so much on the like the virtual side of that part, and more along the lines of like Loco and KC having more like, you know, things that are referring to like a city. Like I think a big inspiration for some people with some of these ideas was like kind of Super Mario oh my god, Super Mario Odyssey's Metro Kingdom, you know, how it feels very like vibrant and alive. And so I think that is definitely something that's very cute. Again, tons of references, as I've mentioned it before while ranking the mythics. Tons of little cute effects and very, very well done particle effects that help increase the atmosphere of the part. Tons of little animations that make the part feel a lot more alive. And we cannot talk about this part without talking about how good the reference to Zenless Zone Zero is here. By the way, this is not a reference to Zenless Zone Zero, as much as people will think about it. This wasn't originally a reference to ZZZ, but then it ended up becoming a reference to ZZZ because of a layout that came out around the same time that we were working on this level that also has a ZZZ reference with the TV part, where like it would be funny if that also became here. Very, very cool part. I think that breaking up the very vibrant oranges with a very, very dark blues, it helps to like break the part apart and have a little bit of diversity with the ideas and try very, very, very many different things while also staying true to the general idea of the part. Give me a second, chat. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, she's already off. Wick is actually... Yeah, Wick is heading off to bed because it is very late for her, and she has a class tomorrow, so everybody say good night to Wick. I hope you sleep well. But thank you for being with us here for today. I did say she was going to be here for a short period of time, so that is what we end up having. But anyways, Subpixel's part. What else can we say about Subpixel's part? Actually, I want to talk about the gameplay in this part. I really like the gameplay for this part. I made this gameplay, and on the original layout, this was a little bit harder. There was a lot more inputs, but oh my god, was it fun. I thought that this gameplay was super, super fun to play. And I don't know how y'all feel, but this part is so fun to play. It's maybe because I'm biased and I love Robot, but I really, really like the patterns in this part, and I definitely feel like it flows really, really well. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about the gameplay in this beginning of the drop, but I really, really like it. I think it's really, really fun. But anyways, we get past Subpixel's part, and now we're moving on onto Peter. So Peter was also an astrolith, as some of you remember. And when we came to this, Peter had a lot of really, really interesting ideas right from the get-go, and decided to draw a concept art of what his background was going to look like. And so that's how we ended up with this part. Peter's part was super, super cool. It's almost a shame you missed the extra Roblox click when clicking the coin. I told, yeah, it's actually crazy because I remember telling this to some people. They're like, oh, I don't like the coin route because like it makes the Roblox gameplay less fun. But yeah, it's okay, and we can live with it. And we get to Peter's part. Now, Peter's part, you'll also know, has a bunch of references, mostly with the randomized text. You have the last part got hit by meteor. Let's see what else we get. Upcoming mega collab, Strilit. We have new movie, Hyper Time Staller. Again, the randomized text. Be careful for the spike at 61%. It's so fun. The fact that there's so many different references. Breaking news is now randomized. So the fact that there's so many little Easter eggs in this part are so goddamn cool. Cab company advertisement rejected. As we talked about as well, there's also the very infamous Rickroll in this part with the link at the bottom, as well as the Catstown Zenderistan. Yeah, this part is super cool. This part definitely feels a little bit more traditional to the modern stuff that we've seen from Knots and stuff like that, with having a very like separated background and foreground. Obviously, some people will like that, some people might not like it as much. I personally think that it ends up looking really cool. The colors feel very vibrant in the background because it is the main attention that you have over this, but obviously, I think that the designs in the foreground could have maybe been a bit better implemented, but I don't blame that on Peter. I definitely think that it still works super, super well. Oh, and can we talk about this transition? My goodness, that transition is so awesome. So Digitalite, Peter, and I worked on that transition together. Originally, when we had made the gameplay for this, we hadn't really planned for the gameplay to turn out that way. But, oh, it's so good in the end. I think this part is ×3 speed, but I do not remember if it is actually ×3 speed. It is. Great. And so we have this amazing transition. Oh, we are upside down. Understandably so. I feel like there's a time warp here that should not be here. Oh, there is a time warp right here. Okay. Let's put it here then in that case. Yeah, these transitions are so goddamn cool. Also, the third orb being a fake is originally planned in the gameplay. It's something that Subpixel added, and it was so, so cool. You can also, like, if you do this incorrectly, you can, like, flip down and get back up from it. Let me try and see if I can do it real quick. Yeah. So once you... Oh, maybe I patched it. But before you could, like, land up here and actually land on the platforms and jump on the corner of them because you landed perfectly on them. I thought it was really fun. But yeah. Now you actually get to see the transition. Now it's a bit broken because obviously we can't have nice things in this. What is this song? This song is called Hold On by Anki. Song. So yeah, this transition is so cool. Like, having the different 1, 2, 3. And then, obviously, if you know about this, the coin that you get here says 4. So having 1, 2, 3, 4 is really cool. But also the number of the coin actually being 4, reflecting on the coin. Really brilliant idea. Genuinely, Peter popped off with that idea. Next, we get onto Saito. And Saito was a very, very, very complex part. Because, as you probably all know from Post Blue Ain, Saito is a screenshot creator. Love him to bits. Genuinely has the biggest issue in the world of making things way too high density objects. It's genuinely one of the biggest issues with Post Blue Ain. But in here, Saito actually did a fantastic job of optimizing the part. It feels super well optimized. Generally, the only thing that actually lags here is the thing that I added, which is not super laggy, but it is still really cool. And I'll talk a little bit more about this part. So, when originally this was made, Saito had only made the structures and some of the animations. You can see here that there's some animated panels that like flash with like, you know, like smile, and then it actually shows a smile. And then over here, jump, jump, telling you to jump. It's basically a jump indicator that is animated to tell you to jump, but of course people won't read it. There's also the no Peter zone with little animations, say when Saito's name and the triples pack saying, "Are you serious?" It's a lot of little cute references that make the part feel more animated, to feel so much better. So once we get to this part, however, the part was kind of just unfinished. There was only the block designs, the little signs and panels were not really there, the text or anything, nothing was animated because it was just missing. Unfortunately, Saito just didn't have the time because of exam season, if I remember correctly. And so I had to take over with this. However, something happened during this time that actually helped us so much. And it's that we got Maxi, KD, who also had a part in Astrolith, to help us out. So Maxi and I came up with tons of different concepts, and we were looking up references. And there's this Korean artist that does a lot of very pop art. Super amazing art, by the way, that we used as reference to do some of this. So what they do is that they make like cover pages for like magazines that are pop art for the most part, and it's so pretty. It's super cute. I think there's a lot of like things in there that like helped us learn, like it's like things we can recognize, like, oh, this is from motion graphics, and also like graphic design, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's just me, but at the start of this part, it's easily the hardest to read. I think it's because the transition happens so fast once you jump out of this, and then you kind of like are left in the dark for like a couple seconds until you actually show up. But the thing about this part is that like I think a lot of people really didn't understand that you can just click and hold, and that's it. Like all of those jumps is just one pre-click before the part even starts and just holding. And if you like play it on practice mode once and figure that out, you'll understand that like you don't need to like read it. You can just click and hold. And obviously if you actually like pause and see what's actually going on, I do think that the values could have been a tiny bit better because the spikes are definitely mostly when they pulse, they become a little bit harder to see. But I think definitely it is a little bit of a mess. But coming back to the pop art, so we had these elements that are part now of the Air Deco, as you can see, that are super neat. They make such a cool difference in patterns and add so much texture and life into the part by having these elements pop in and feel like very like, you know, kind of like a magazine. And I really like that aspect. You can see like the little checkerboard patterns in here, the little barcodes. A lot of an aesthetic that makes this feel so much more alive. And super cool. Then Maxi had to unfortunately leave us for the rest of the project because he didn't have as much time. So we got the help of Subpixel and Wick to actually help do two more of those structures. So this structure at the top, I believe, was made by Wick, and I think one structure at the end was made by Subpixel. I don't remember exactly if this is true, but I think neither of them are in chat here. I think it was both of them that did that, but yeah, they can correct me if it was indeed wrong. In the end, I ended up adding the pulses, I ended up adding some movement and making things feeling more alive. And then I made the whole, well, there's multiple halftone effects in this part. Originally, the halftone effect that Saito had done was very off-grid and was literally impossible to copy-paste into the part because of the way that it was made. It was way too random, it just was not consistent. Became very complex to work on. So I remade the whole effect in order to have this part at the beginning have little circles with the bigger circles in the background masking the halftone effect. And then in the foreground, once we get into this really really big poles here at the cube, everything changes between circles to actually become the diamonds, which is really really neat. I'd actually think that that was a very cute change on my end. As you can see, all of these are circles. In the background, how it works is that there's actually a layer of all of these that are just normal circles that are the same color as the background. And how it functions is that all of these, once the player gets close to them, become smaller, revealing that behind all of them are these bigger circles. And so since these are the same color as the background, if you didn't have these bigger circles, you just wouldn't see the effect. So by having these bigger circles, you can have more selected areas where it actually shows like, hey, here's like what the background looks like, and here's the separation between the background and the foreground. And I think it was a really cute effect. Obviously, all of these halftones here also work the same with an area scale. But once we get to here, you can actually see these a little bit beforehand, and it was done on purpose. But then once you flip over here, you flip between the circles to, boom. Now you actually get into these. You can see the change here from circles to diamonds. And so this entire part ends up being diamonds. The same effect exists with these little diamonds shrinking down and the bigger diamonds in the background revealing the pattern. I think the biggest issue, hello Anex, how's it going? The biggest issue with this is that it is very subtle and it doesn't add too much to the part. It definitely makes it feel more complete, but it's definitely there as a like an extra little flair instead of it actually serving a purpose with the cohesiveness of the part. And I think that's a little bit on my bad. I definitely try to rush this really, really late into the development process. And I was trying to work on this part and also my part and the end art at the same time. So it became a bit of a mess. But hey, at the very least, we got Pp here. And she's the goat. Now we can get onto the next part. Oh, and absolutely, gotta say, the designs here are super clean. They're super pretty. It's a very different type of modern, in the sense that like it again, kind of like Loco. It's very outline, very deep, very like simple, flat shaded, like Skebler, but also very detailed at the same time. In the sense that there's a lot of little tiny stuff in it, and it looks super super nice in motion. I definitely think that it's very unique to see so many different colors and so many different attempts at like different things being merged into one part work so well. I'm definitely very proud of everybody's work in the part. And then we get into Wick's part. And here I believe we are at ×2 speed as a cube that is... Might be ×2, let me check. Pretty sure it's ×2, but it might be ×3. It is ×2, good. Okay. Then we get to this part. Let me check if everything here is chill. Yeah, we are mini. Okay. We get into Wick's part. And I feel like this is the part where... This is a part where I think... Oh, are we supposed to be ×3 speed? I don't remember. Oh, it seems like okay so far. No, I think we are supposed to be ×3. Wait, where's the ×3 speed? No, this is all ×2. Oh, that's ×3. Okay, never mind. I am bad. My own game... Actually, no, this is not my own gameplay. This is Subpixel gameplay. Anyway. We get to this part, the duels. I think Wick did a very, very, very good job. She didn't have too much time to work on this part. This part was, unfortunately kind of dropped on her very, very last minute. But I still think that for the time that she had and for the effects that she did, she ended up doing a very, very solid job. I added a couple of additions to some of the stuff here and there. We were workshopping some of the ideas together. Like, for example, this grid over here, again, me loving to use area scales. It was something that I suggested to her, and then she ended up implementing beautifully. Same with like this grid design in the background that ended up turning into the actual transition. And there we go. You got 80 creator points? No way, that's crazy. Can't believe you got 80 creator to point at you. That is pretty good. That's at least more than 2 people. But yeah, I definitely think that the colors are definitely one of some of the standouts in this part. They're super unique. I don't think we see colors like these very often. And I feel like that's just this level as a whole. There's a lot of different things that just we don't really see very often like in this game. And I think it's very unique, very cool. And then now we get Ivality's part. And this is where the level completely changes and it becomes the more, I don't like to say realistic because it's not realistic style. I feel like a lot of people think that just because it is more grounded that it becomes more realistic. It still has the very cartoony, very like it still has that similar vibe, very modern art vibe, you know. It's not trying to be like super hyper realism. It's very different. And I think like a lot of people confuse those two very often. So let me put a star pause directly there. Where is the... Yeah, there it is. Guess we can put the star pause right... Where is my practice? Did it disappear? Oh, there it is. Great. So we have a mini robot, I believe at 1 times speed. Oh, 0.5 times speed. Mini robot. And then we'll have the thing like here. I guess that should be fine enough. So we'll have a little bit of Vality's part be in full speed, and the rest we can slow it down. So once we get into this part kind of breaks because of the way that the setup for the camera is done, unfortunately. I apologize to Vality for that. I can't do too much about that. Hello, Tro, how's it going? Yeah, well, unfortunate. But once we get to this part, there's something really, really cool that we see. It's the fact that, like, so many different aspects of it are, like, animated and moving. Oh, okay, well, this part is just gonna be a mess. I know, it's just for the showcase purposes that it's a bit infuriating that it's not working like it should, but I'm pretty sure this is like a ×2, yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna not have the time warp, and we're gonna have to deal with it. Vality's part is also another part that has a lot of references. Oh, okay, that is great. Great, I love the fact that this just does not work. Pretty sure this is still ×3 speed. Okay. I'm just gonna assume that it is ×3. So let's get on to Vality's part. Apologies for that, chat. Annoying. So we get to Vality's part, and this part has a lot of very dynamic things. Obviously, I think that, personally speaking, I feel like the part feels a little bit too dynamic, actually, for what the song is actually going for. I think that the song starts to chill off a little bit, and, like, once we actually get to this part, there's too many things that are, like, animated and swinging, which is, again, not necessarily a bad thing, but the song is calming down, so I feel like progressively it should calm down. Sure, it kind of doesn't, but we'll talk about that more when we get to Brett King's part. But we have very, very interesting colors because now we have the sudden shift in everything, basically. The colors are very different. They're a lot darker, a lot more in the reds and purples. Very, very different. And now we get to some insight, basically like an inside section. Like we start very outside, and now we end up more claustrophobic in the end. It's not super claustrophobic, but it's still very, very well done. That progression, it feels very natural in terms of the progression of the city. How you go from a very open space to a more enclosed space, and then you go into Alcha's part, which is definitely a lot more closed off later on here. But the thing that we gotta talk about is the fact that from now on, the level changes in its theme massively, and once we come to the progression of things here, there's a lot to say about the next 3 parts in terms of the development of them. So Alcha's part is probably one of the most ambitious parts in terms of its designs and its looks. comparatively to the rest of the level. And so everything here is kind of worked off from what the ideas that Valkyrie and Validity had. So Val had a lot of very interesting ideas when it came to actually like introducing the more cyberpunky aesthetics to the environment, and Alch had a very, very different take on it, focusing more on actually being on the city. So when these two parts were being concepted and made, it actually impacted massively the direction that Brett King and I decided to take our parts into, because we wanted to stay consistent within these parts, but also having our own unique ideas. And so these two parts kind of directed the ending of the level into a certain direction that we weren't originally gonna be. So, like, as I saw in the beginning of the stream, the concept art for my part was a little bit different in terms of the colors and the mood, but because of the direction of these parts, it completely changed how that was done. And that is okay. That is something that I feel like a lot of creators need to learn, is the fact that, hey, you might have your ideas, but if your ideas don't really work in the context of the level as they are, there's nothing wrong with adapting those ideas to the level. And we can definitely take some of the ideas that we had originally and change them and shape them in order to match a little bit more with everything else going on. Consistency is something that is very, very important in a project. And I feel like a lot of people really just kind of want to do their own thing instead of trying to participate and make something together. And so this is some of the sacrifices that we needed to do. But aside from that, very, very good part. There's unfortunately not too much to say about this part. I have a lot more to say about the other two. This part was done very fast, very efficiently. And Validity basically did this by herself with very, very minor ideas and help from, like me, for example, animating the coin route, or Valkyrie with some of the colors and the transitions help. But then we actually get to Valkyrie's part. And I have to say, by far my favorite part of the level. This part is absolutely stunning. The amount of depth, the amount of detail, the amount of incredible designs and incredible asset pieces that are in this part is absolutely stunning. You can definitely just talk about this part so much. There's so many little things to see. The gameplay feels super well integrated into the whole thing. The actual like the indicators are super clear. It feels like, I don't know, I feel like this part is definitely some of the cleanest art that we've had in GD. It's super easy to tell what is what and have the ideas implemented into the part super well. Again, with the parallax and the dynamic cameras, it's all just super good. Great job from Alk. It actually uses, and this is a thing that I think a lot of people didn't actually know, is that this part at the beginning of it uses the same background as Validity's part. So the background does continue into here for the beginning, and then once we actually get to this animation, that's when the background changes and shift into what it ended up becoming later on. It's super cool seeing all of these elements feel so dynamic, because there's no movements or anything that is like, there's nothing like that is moving or animated or anything. This part just feels super dynamic because of the composition and the colors and the way that the objects are arranged on the screen with the parallax in order to make it feel like this parallaxing out because you're going inside of the building, like the zooming in of the camera just makes the part feel so interesting. The different movements of the cameras over here, like the different cameras being on different parallax rates, and the fact that the camera kind of shifts and slows down to give you the time to like ease in and out. It's so cool. Again, super interesting part with the little monograph at the end. I definitely think Alch did such an amazing job. Also, the different texts in different languages, having different references, be it in Russian, in Korean, in Chinese, and Japanese, and also like just in English. Like, it's so goddamn cool seeing all of the different texts that just shine there to make the part feel like it's an actual live-in city. It's super cool. Final thing that I want to talk about this part is, surprisingly enough, this little animation here. Originally, this animation was kind of out of place because, like, again, it's not like it syncs with the song too much. We had to add like a sound effect to like make it feel a little bit more integrated in. I think it does still work really well without the sign effects, but it does definitely feel a little bit jarring and out of place at times. However, the really, really cool part is that this animation ended up creating a great transition between the two parts. Like, it is not in perspective, because it's essentially you breaking through the glass as you touch the dashboard. And it's technically not in perspective, but it's really, really cool how instead of keeping it all like three-dimensional, Ouch decided to change the perspective in here to match it more in the kinds of like transitions that you would have in traditional GD levels, you know? Since we're all like side-scrolling. Instead of it being like in a 3D perspective and like on the horizontal axis, or I guess the Z-axis I should say, it's still on the X-axis, and it's still super well done. So, amazing job from Ouch. And now we get to Bread King's part. So, Bread King was in chat earlier, but he is not in chat currently. So, we're going to talk a little bit about this part. But this part is definitely the part that had the most changes happen to it. This part had, I think, maybe 5 different sketch concepts before we actually came up to a solution on what we actually wanted this part to be. Originally, what the concept for this part is that Bread King wanted to have the player kind of running on the side of a building. So in Seer, how we're seeing it is that we're currently looking at it top down. So the perspective is exactly the same. But imagine if instead of seeing from before the rooftops, the camera was more zoomed in into the gaps of the street and you were running on the side of a building. Now, as cool as that idea was, it was something that was really hard to do and make interesting in GD while also keeping the gameplay very adaptive. So it definitely broke a lot of the conventions that we thought could work really well. And that is when I decided to tell Bread King, I think we really need to shift the perspective of the part, or either like zoom out completely so you can actually see the rooftops and the rooftops become the obstacles, or we completely shift the perspective to be something completely different. And you can see that the perspective shift does indeed happen later on as a transition, but the idea was completely reshaped in order to make it a little bit more doable within the time frame that we had. What happened next is that Bread King spent the first week and a half, maybe, working on the tracking of the 3D systems and importing all of that into GD. So how he made it is that, and we can actually finally talk about the whole monster up here, is that all of these were actually done in Blender, I'm pretty sure, as an animation. It might have been Maya, but I think it was Blender. So he made that animation in Blender and then coded a program. He entirely coded something to transfer all of that animation's keyframes into GD with the keyframes. And it is absolutely incredible, the fact that like you're able to just kind of do that now in GD thanks to gradient triggers and keyframes, and create like super smooth, precise movements that like are exactly like needed, you know? So all of the parallaxing of all of that stuff is tracked by these keyframes, and it is insane that this is just something we can do. I genuinely have no idea how a lot of this was made. No, that's not true. I have a lot of clues on how the code was made, but how it was transferred to GD, that's something that's outside of my control. So this is the part where I kind of just let Bread King just do his own thing. I was like, here, I'm gonna just trust you. As a host, it is kind of my job to make the level work and have the level get finished. But this was such an ambitious idea, and it was trying so many different things that I just didn't see the vision until it was done, because it was definitely way too complex. And just to tell you all how many objects this is 3,000 objects of just keyframes. It is absolutely incredible the fact that this was even done. I definitely did not expect to end up having all of this get done for a level that is just supposed to be silly little cab level. But, you know, it ended up turning out into this beautiful parallax of a part. And in the end, we had one of the coolest things that this level has, which is this entire transition of the camera shifting perspectives and the frame animation that was helped with the help of Earl and Ouch in the end. Super, super cool. Again, this part feels super alive because of how dynamic the composition is and all of the different elements going on, little animations, little things going on, the little cars moving around. And this part just, it feels like the city is so alive. Yes, the mode graph is super, super neat. The whole transition between Ouch and Breaking is super cool. I talked about it more when I was ranking the Mythics, so I feel like I'm just gonna repeat myself at that point. But this level just, yeah, this part I should say, super, super cool. That everything is just super dynamic. I love this part, and I love the little Easter eggs. Again, this level has just so many little Easter eggs everywhere. So, so cute. And then finally, we get to my part. I've talked a little bit about how I feel like this part is probably the most like rushed thing that I've ever done. Unfortunately, not counting the end art. The end art is its own different thing, but the whole section that is my part is something that I'm actually not very proud of. I'm very, very proud of this level. I'm very, very proud of my job hosting this level. But when it comes to this specific part, I definitely think that I could have done a lot better. When I made my concept, I was one of the first people who made the concepts, and so at the time, it kind of just didn't. I kind of just didn't have much of an idea of how the level was going to end up being, and I kind of stuck with the vision that I had. But I definitely should have revisited it and made it feel a little bit more unique, and maybe even integrated a little bit better with what everybody else was doing, because I definitely feel like it is definitely way too much of a simple kind of generic modern part, and I definitely do regret that. It is something that I do regret. I definitely did spend quite a lot of time in this part, but it is one of those things that I forgot to reset the camera, where I really wish that I had spent a little bit more time focusing on this, but I just couldn't. If y'all were in if any of you were in the collab, you know that I genuinely was swamped with so much work that I barely could spend any time of my part. I needed to design the girl for the end art and know how to animate it and get that going. I was working on Saito's part as well as trying to get 2 other parts finished, while also working on my own part. And then I was also in calls so often trying to get people to finish. It was genuinely an insane amount of work to get this level off the ground and get this level going. And I also was dealing with a lot of situations IRL while this was happening. During the process of this level, I lost my job. And so it became like really, really stressful for me because I needed to focus on getting some money somehow while also getting this collab going. But the thing is, we had like not too much time left. We have less than a month to get the level done, and it was really, really stressful in order to manage a bunch of people, get the level done, and also me having to deal with IRL stuff. Obviously, not the best situation, but it ended up turning out in a really, really cool level. I won't talk too much more about the IRL stuff happening, but it was a lot for me to deal with, and having to manage this level on top of that definitely didn't help, but I think I managed pretty well at the end. It ended up with my part taking some sacrifices, but I still feel like my part ended up feeling very concise. I think that not helping me out with some of the assets definitely made the part feel a little bit more polished and complete. He drew a lot of the concepts. If you've seen the Twitter post, you've seen some of the concepts that he drew, and I actually transformed them into GD. Same with Zender helping me out with drawing the cab at the end. I appreciate him so much for taking 2 hours of his life to draw that cab. But yeah, I got my part with the references, and so many of them again. Every single one of the signs, there's tons of little things here and there, like the cats over here being my cats, the little melts. I talked about this again. It is so good. And then I think the best thing that happened to my part was actually a suggestion from Subpixel. So I had started to make the very dynamic lighting that you see here, but Subpixel told me, hey, why don't you like actually just put blocks in there and make it feel super like colorful and punchy and dynamic with the lights? And so I went super, super crazy with the lights and made the lightings feel like as intense as possible. So like all of these lights have a lot more intense lights than originally. They have like actual like reflections and like having things like not super like accurate, but you know, like the light over here makes this part of the block warmer, you know, the slide over here, and once it flickers it also has that effect on everything. So it's just so cool. Like again, like this over here, like dimming down the lights when you pass on top of it. It's such a little thing that like doesn't really matter to anybody, but I love those little details on the lightings, and I genuinely had so much fun making them. Same with like the pads and the orbs having like the lights. It's just so fucking cool. Again, if anything, this part might have been a little bit rushing the block design, but I still think that artistically, I still think I did a pretty decent job. And we finally get to the end art. Woohoo! After so much work on this level, we finally get to the last part of the level, the end art. Oh god, what to say about this end art? I don't even know where to start on this end art, because y'all saw me making most of this on stream. So for those who happen to see or catch any of the streams, this was the first time that we were publicly showing Next Cap Soon. And so it ended up being very different from what a lot of people expecting it, because we hadn't shown anything. We had only shown the little preview of the a little preview of the layout, but that's about it. Have a good rest of your night, Aquar. Take it easy. But this is where, oh, this is, yeah, whoops, forgot that the system to load things is over here. Yep. She does not have a head anymore. And there we go. Okay. So, the thing about this level, and the end art, and the name of the level, basically everything revolves about this end art. When we originally were trying to find a name for the level, I came up with very different names. Obviously, some of them being more jokey, some of them were being so seriously, and then in the end, we were like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if, like, you know, we made like an end art based around like, actually no, it was backwards. Apologies, I'm misremembering. I came up with the name Next Cap Soon, and I just put it down because we were joking about so many different things. Because I think the name of the level originally was going to be Next Collab Soon. And I was like, well, that feels a bit weird, but, you know, we can definitely get something around with it. And so Next Cap Soon is something that I came up with because I was like, oh, I think it could be interesting with the whole theming being like, you know, like very New York-esque, very like cyberpunk, but also having these elements of like street urban art. And we end up coming with Next Cap Soon. And so Loco and I sat down and we decided to talk about Sono. Yeah, good job, Maddie. We decided to talk about what we could do with the end art, because I wanted Loco's help with sound effects, because he helped massively with Astrolith's sound effects, which is something that I didn't really talk about on yesterday's stream. Apologies for that, Loco. He helped massively in integrating the sound effects for Astrolith, and he also helped with the sound effects here. And I was like, hey, Loco, like, any ideas? Or like, oh, could it be funny to, you know, do this thing? And again, we've talked about this a little bit on the Mythic stream. Hello, Skepler. But when it comes to actually making this end art, it was rough. We went through different sketches. I think I did maybe 4 different drawings of the girl, and I think Peter helped me refine 2 of those. It was definitely a long process of matching the girl to like actually look good, feel in theme, and like, you know, be as a part of the project consistently. Like having a actual human, like this is not a fairy, you know, this is an actual human in GD next to the cube, and the cube passing in front of her. I think the cube passes, I wanted to make it so the cube passes between the legs, but I don't think I ended up making that. I think I ended up making it go just behind her completely. Let's check. Yeah, it's completely behind her. So because of that, it was really hard trying to make the girl fit in with the environment, fit in with the cube, fit in with everything really, and still look good. And so it was a really hard challenge to implement this into GD. I feel like people kind of just think that we just drew it and then put it in GD and called it a day. Like, we still wanted to animate this, wanted her to feel alive. Like, if you see it on this end screen for like 20 minutes, I think eventually things will start breaking. So I'm actually going to show you guys that. But I think I fixed it, but I don't remember if it's in this version. It might be. I don't remember. And so yeah, I wanted her to feel like she's actually a part of this world that we've created. And this is the part where I think became a little bit harder to like manage things, because the level needed to get done. The level had a very, very hard deadline that was coming up very, very soon, and we were like, okay, we need to get this done. And there's like maybe like a week left, and the end art is like not even animated. I had done the background, I had done the animation for like the lights flickering and stuff, and I was starting to think about how I would do everything compositionally and things, but it was exhausting. I think y'all probably noticed it if you were here during the streams during that time. It was exhausting. I worked on this for maybe a total of like 30 hours, just focused on the end art. And that's without all of the hours put into actually like drawing the girl and coming up with the little like sketches for like the background, all of the concept art, you know, all of that stuff. Just it's not things that I think the community really sees. And so that's kind of why I've been making these streams talking about these levels, giving some more insight on how to actually do any of these stuff and how these projects came to light. Yeah, this was definitely a challenge. I'm very, very happy in the end that the animation turned out really good. I think that as it does seem a little bit simple, but very many different parts of like, you know, her body arm, and like the legs are swinging, the arms are like beating in like in rhythm with the music. Well, for the most part, same with the head bobbing, the hair being animated and actually following, and of course there's the whole animatic, which I'm pretty sure y'all seen it before, so you know. I was very sick as well. That is true. I had COVID during this time that I was doing this entire thing. A lot of these animations are actually really, really simple to do. So I think a lot of people don't actually know how rigging works. So I can show you a little bit, but this is the sound graph. So these are all the sound effects and the timings of them. And this is the animation graph. It's actually doubled, because if you go here, I'm pretty sure some of these are... Some of them are duplicated, or... No, I think I moved them around. Okay. This is the animation graph for the girl, and over here, down here, is the animation graph for the end screen. So let me show y'all how it's done. If you were here during the stream, y'all probably have seen it, but as you can see, the girl is kind of dead. She has no head and no arm. So what happens over here is when you actually hit this spawn trigger, everything loads. So I'm gonna do it in editor, but then remind me, chat, to not save and play. So once you start playing here, everything is unloaded. Everything is just kind of here, and then when you touch the spawn trigger, it's impossible to do in the editor. Everything gets loaded. So the girl gets loaded, everything gets loaded, and then things start playing. So we have an animation over here that is this one over here that does the blinking. So this is blinking open, and I think this is blinking for when she's upset or something like that. It's been a little bit, so the specifics aren't there, but yeah, like this is one of the blinking animations. This is another one of the blinking animations. Oh, I think it's for the different heads. Sorry, because the heads swap. And so I had an entire system that focuses on having the default animation. So all of the default stuff is kind of running in here, but also like here we had to like separate them for each of the components. So this is for the idle animation, and then this is all the things that spawn once you hit the trigger of the coin, because the arm changes, and I saw you have to rotate the whole arm and do the whole animation. And also the head changes. So if y'all remember, the head actually turns around and flips on itself. Now, if I remember correctly, I think it's this one. No, it might be... Chat, it's gonna be one of these. I don't remember which one it is. I think it's this one? We're gonna see it in game anyway. Okay, this one's the thing that spawns the coin away, which is fair. And then I think, okay, so it's 279, is that it? 79, okay. Let's do 279. Pretty sure it's this one. Sorry, this is disrespectful. No, it's not disrespectful. It's so. Yes, I am a woman. Boom. I think this is the animation starter. Why is it not working? Oh, because it's checking for the. Okay, wait, hold up, chat. I'm trying to remember which one is the one that triggers everything. Is it 237? Pretty sure it's 237. It's 237? Maybe 239? No, it's not 239. Oh god. Okay, 239. Let's hope it's 239. It's 49. Oh no, it's 237. Sorry. God damn it. Hello, I don't know. And hello, Luca Party Legacy. Welcome, welcome. Ooh, you want to save and play so bad? Of course. Is this the animation starter? I don't remember which one is the animation starter. Oh my god, it is the animation starter. Great. So, as you can see, now the head and thing has flipped. I fucking hate the fact that this happens like this, but yeah, the head and everything flips. Obviously, you get this animation when you actually... I guess I can't save and play. Okay, so it's 237, chat. 237. You all remember, it's 237. We're gonna make it happen. I make animation? Yes, I was the one in charge of animating this. And so what happens here, so when you actually trigger it, the whole thing happens. I think you wait a little bit. And then, boom, she flips it around, she calls the number, and she does all the shenanigans. And now, as you can see, the animation has completely changed. From her being in her normal idle state, now she's in a different state that is, like, has the mouth moving, has a different blinking animation for, like, for example, now she's looking the other way, the head has completely turned, and there you go. All that it's doing here is that I'm swapping between frames. Obviously, for the arm, it's a little bit different, but for the head, I have two different heads in the editor, and I'm just flipping between the two heads whenever it changes to this animation. For the actual arm, there's a rotation that I made, and so I added little center points to rotate different parts of the arm. So how it functions is that once you actually go in the editor, each of the girl's parts, which sounds very wrong, but each of the girl's limbs is separated into different layers. So for example, we have the arm, we have the jacket, we have the leg, and all of these different parts are separated into different layers so that I can go and select them and give them individual groups. By having these individual groups, I can also set up the center points. And, yeah, I guess I'll go to, I think it's layer 31, where every center point is. Oh no, it's 36. As you can see, these are all the center points that we are using in order to make sure to track all of the movements. So all of the little movements that you see from the arms and from the things, these are basically like the joints to make those things move. So how I'm doing this is that I'm using the center points as a reference of the center, and then connecting different chunks, for example, for the hair, or for the arms, or for the legs, and like rotating around that center point. I also needed to make sure that the layering on the actual visuals doesn't break, of course. So I had to like play around with the values to make sure that like, hey, it's still within the constraints of what the shape is, without breaking everything. It was rough. Okay, so yeah, this was definitely... Oh, well, I participate in the Space Gauntlet. I have talked to the team a little bit about this. Obviously, there's people who are very interested in it, and some that probably not as much. So it'll be something to see if the whole team is down to actually do something with it. But for now, no promises. I think it'll be really fun if we do participate. I think we have a lot of ideas that could be really, really well done in GD and something that's very, very original. But, you know, it is something that is still in the talks. And so, for example, for this leg right here, I have different elements of the leg, like, of course, the lighting, have the actual, like, bottom half of the leg, and then the top half of the leg. And all of this is rotating around the center point that is the group parent over here. Obviously, it's not the group parent here, the group parent's just the center right now, but that becomes the group parent, and it's actually rotating over here. So if you go to the actual rotates, we have the rotate over here. For example, this one, it's rotating a certain amount of degrees for a certain period of time with certain easing, and then we're rotating back so that it actually makes an animation that, you know, does everything correctly. Here is the biggest issue that we have. I was using spawn order in order to do these things, and spawn ordered, as some of you might already know, has an insanely big flaw when it comes to triggers that require movement. If you zoom in a lot, and by a lot I mean a lot here, you notice that there's actually a tiny pixel of overlap in here. So how spawn order works is that, for example, if you put a trigger here, and you put a trigger here, and then you put a trigger here, it'll play these triggers in the order that is done. However, if you're doing a looping animation, it can become an issue because of this little tiny pixel gap. Unless this pixel gap is like exactly at the right position, which is technically mathematically possible to do, but for the majority of creators, it's not something that they'll be able to do. The animation will eventually create an off-sync. This happens again because the spawn over here, for example, is not exactly at the end. So there's a tiny little bit of delay that will be caused eventually by the animation looping back and forth. So if you sit on this end screen for like a long period of time, like by that I mean like more than like 20 minutes. I think 20 minutes is the minimum where it still looks pretty okay. After 20 minutes, it's when it starts breaking. So if you sit on this animation for more than 20 minutes, you'll start seeing some of the things breaking. I realized this and changed it later on by using the old spawn method by creating spawns, because in the end, we have unlimited amounts of groups. Like, we don't really need to start being specific about, oh, am I gonna hit group cap? With this level, we were definitely not hitting group cap. So, well, originally the idea was 30 minutes Yinser, so that's why I had to actually check these things. I actually think I sat here for 2 hours once, and it completely distorted everything. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm getting a bit tired, chat. My voice is straining from all the talking from yesterday. I need to make the stream a tiny bit shorter than expected. And so, yeah, that is how you animate an anime girl in Geometry Dash. You just do that and sit here for 30 minutes. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sit here for 30 minutes. And actually see how this is done. This is how you make anime girl. You put little dots down and things happen. So, chat, now it's time, kind of like yesterday, and I'm opening up the discussion. If anybody has any questions about how this level was made, or that I haven't answered already, or any questions about how to improve on creating or anything like that, I am more than willing to open discussion now. throwing by making the coin take even 10 minutes. Hey, I'm sure that the coin would not have been taken into consideration by RobTop, you know. What made you think of the coin route? So when I was originally working on the coin route with Loco, we thought of different ways to make this. Actually, that's great. I haven't talked about it. Um, we thought of different ways to make this feel very fun and very interesting, but also to make it as annoying and tedious as possible. Because we both really have a gripe against user coins, and so the goal was to make it annoying, but also kind of enjoyable. And so whenever we originally thought about it, we were like, well, the level's called Next Cab Soon, so how about we make the girl at the very, very end of the level in the end screen call the cab? And then she has to, like, you know, find the numbers. Originally, I had, like, an idea of having, like, a little mini game at the end, because you could, like, actually, like, do little... So there's a... I don't know how if we can even talk about these things, because there's a lot of tech that we've discovered that we've been gatekeeping for Astrolith and NCS. But I guess I can talk about this tech. There's a thing you can do with touch triggers that allow you to detect the player input after the level has ended. So whenever the level ends, you can actually check if the player is still clicking in the interface. So if the player sits here and then they take their mouse and start clicking, you can actually detect that. It is not very reliable, and it is sometimes a bit buggy, but we thought that it could be really, really cool to do that and have you, like, beat Cataclysm. So I think the original idea was Congregation. So people would have to, like, sit here and beat Congregation after the level was done, blindfolded, essentially, because the girl would be playing Congregation on her phone after she's called a taxi. And after you beat Congregation, you actually get the coin. That was the original concept, and we were like, that's crazy, because, like, we're not going to show Congregation on screen. The worst thing that we could do is, like, kind of recreate Congregation, like, right here on this little screen, but I didn't want to have to go through all that. So I was like, yeah, you just go and play Congregation by just listening to the song, and you have to beat it in order to get the coin. Is it fun? No. Is it miserable? Yes. Is it original? Yes, very much so. But we figured out that, like, maybe Congregation's a bit too hard. How about if we do Stereo Madness? And we're like, well, that's still really fucking hard. So how about we just keep it so the girl is playing that, but it's just a cutscene, you know? You don't actually put an input there. It's just kind of she's just playing levels. And then we're like, okay, so she's just going to play levels and she calls the cab. So how about we make it so that you have to find the numbers, and then at the end of the level, you have to input in Morse code the numbers. Or, like, in binary or something like that, according to, like, how your click patterns and stuff. We would maybe, like, create a little art interface again with here and have you input the numbers. Again, it was definitely, there was a lot of ideas that we had in mind to make this feel, like, very, very fun and interesting for the people who really wanted to go out of their way to get the coin. But then I think I tested the fact that if it does 2-player work with after the level, and I think it didn't work, so we couldn't do the little mini game. So in the end, we're like, we can just scatter the coins across the level. And so I made this announcement. Let me get it real quick. And boom. So I will be spoiling a little bit. Chat, if you don't want to be spoiled, close your eyes. Just listen to me speaking, but you know. So this is the little message. So we had a little message where we had come up with a coin concept for the level. You don't need to worry about the coin itself. It's more about the setup. There will be 11 collectibles, so one for each of the parts. That the player needs to gather during the level to obtain the coin. Each part, with the exception of blooming, will have a dedicated number assigned to them. So I assigned each of the creators a specific part. So as you can see, that's what gets over here. And then in the end, I'll leave you how to incorporate this into your part so everybody could have a very, very fun little thing. And then it has 1-800 get cabs. So we had a lot of different things that we had in mind originally for this specific thing. So, like, the number by itself, it was like, originally it was like next cab or something like that, with like the letters being like that, but it didn't really flow too well. Or like I think we had other letters as well, but then it ended up being like all of these were the letter like 1, which is, or 2, which was lame as fuck, you know. So in order to make it not super horrible, we were like, okay, let's try to word something that like actually gets this. And yeah, that is how we came up with the coin. You call this number? Please do not call this number. I do not know. I do not remember what this number goes to. That is the only legal thing that I'll say. I do not condone calling this number. Please do not harass anybody who calls this number or has this number. Anyway, all of that to say is, that is what the number at the end goes to, and yeah. That is how we came up with the concept of the coin. Sorry, chat. That was a long explanation for one question. What would you improve from a hosting standpoint for future projects, and specifically what you learned from this level? Honestly, from this level, not too much. I think that the hosting on this project was so much better than Astrolith. It was so much more organized. We had different channels that kept track of like the status check, like how much of the part was done and what needed to be done. Everybody could get feedback to it and be like, hey, this actually should be improved upon. This actually a high priority, low priority. We had a to-do list with like really, again, I think the organization for this collab was probably the best it could have been. I think there's a few things that are to improve, and it's mostly with my decisions as a host in terms of like assigning roles and organization, just communication with people. But aside from that, it's generally not too bad. Never cook again with coins like that? Hey, chill. We'll cook even better with the next coin. Trust. If you do Spring Scotland entry, you should do that. No, I don't think we can do that. Unfortunately, I feel like we'll get disqualified, mostly because the levels can't even beat Demon. Should have done a Veneer cipher with some word in the level. We thought about encoding different things and making it an ARG, but I think eventually we're like, dude, there's already so much work that goes into this coin, and I feel like people are already gonna complain about it so much. Mostly like coin grinders and star grinders. They're like, I'll decide to make it easier for them. It would be cool to allow the player to play Serum Madness blind for like 2 minutes while waiting instead of hard coding the levels, but we didn't have time to do something like that. That is also the other issue, is that when it was time to actually get to making the coin, or making the end screen, we had maybe like 2 weeks left. Actually, not even, a week and a half left. And we needed to do the visuals, we needed to do the programming of the sound effects and the timings of all that. It just took way too long. For Breath King, oh my god. Jesus Christ, Breath King's part, we actually did experiment with the scale, like area scales and all of that, because that's exactly what was used in an earlier transition with the wall parallaxing when you break through the wall. That is exactly how it was used. But for Breath King, we actually realized that keyframes are way more optimized than area scale triggers, and area scale triggers actually massively lag the game. And so because of that, I think that he was already doing that test, and when I told him like, oh, actually it's fine, like you shouldn't use area scale because area scale will just lag the game too much. It's just a request, you don't have to do it. Can you... no, I'm not accepting level collabs, unfortunately. I apologize. Really amazing how you managed to do all of this. Thank you. Generally, I think it's a lot of work that a lot of people don't really see, because they just kind of see the level come out and they don't really take into consideration the fact that, like, yeah, we kind of spent lots of sleepless nights just kind of grinding this thing out and making sure that it's like as polished as it ended up being. I think that the amount of people that can actually pump a level of this quality is very, very small. And I'm not saying that to like put myself up there. It's genuinely just the team behind this is some of the best creators that I know in the game. I genuinely don't think there's that many better creators out there. This team is absolutely incredible. They did such a fantastic job. And you know what's crazy? A lot of these people aren't super popular or like super well known. Of course, we have Knots and Xander that are on the collab, but their contributions are literally just some concept art drawings for my part. And then we have Loco, of course, that is also very well known. But aside from that, we have a lot of insanely unknown creators that are super, super talented and insane artists. They are some of the best artists that I know in this community. And somehow, it's not about getting popular creators or the super big names to make really cool projects. You can still make really cool projects of really high quality with just people that are just very dedicated and very artistic, you know? I really think they're going to be really strict with the demon rule for this gauntlet, for the space gauntlet. If your level gets demon, it's not going to be entered. Yeah, like Unistar said, it's instantly disqualified. If you're making an 9-star, you're playing with fire. Yeah, it's basically what I remember them saying. I think it's easier to determine between non-demons and demons than it is between easy and medium demons. I think so too. I think it's a little bit complex to like have all of that like make sure that, oh yeah, this is actually an easy demon, because there's different skill sets in the game, and depending on what skill sets you're good at, you're gonna have an easier time or a harder time with certain things. But would a Stereo Madness version of that coin also be hard? I didn't understand that part. It was more so the fact that it was blind. You can't see anything, so you just have to use the song as a reference. And while I'm sure that there's a few people that can do it, I don't think there's more than 10 people who can just straight up beat Stereo Madness blindfolded. And actually, maybe there's more than that. I'm sure there's more than that. But I feel like 10 people is still, like, even if there was like 100 people, out of like the million people who have played this level, that is nothing. You didn't know the sign changed? Yeah, the sign does change depending on if you get the coin or not. If you get the coin, it says soon, and if it not, it actually shows the names of the people in the collab, and then shows the list of people, the list of the numbers. Keyframe is worse at rotating, worse at moving, but better at scaling? No, Keyframe is the same as at rotating. It is worse at moving and better at scaling. Yes. No, actually, keyframe, technically speaking, is exactly the same as rotating, except that it can be better than rotating. A rotate trigger is still the worst trigger in the game, and area rotate is still by far the worst trigger in the game. Area scale is the second worst. Doesn't possess me to make my parts time stalled, of course. You're definitely the time staller, Brett King. Hoping to see a lot of 2 to 3-star entries. I think if we end up making an entry, gameplay will be around like 4 to 5 stars, maybe 6 stars, 7 if we really, really push it. But I really don't want to make the level harder than like Melu Melu. Like Melu Melu is as hard as the level can get. It'd be disqualifying since you'd have to hack verify the coin. No, it wouldn't. I think something that people don't realize is that levels nowadays are more and more often hack verified when it comes to easier levels. Like, a lot of medium demons or hard demons just get hack verified and released with no proof of verification because people just don't give a shit anymore. Levels getting hack verified and then getting rated is very common nowadays. Those things just happen. Also, no, I would actually sit through here and you will watch me stream for hours and hours to get that coin. That is just how it was. You have too many ideas for Space Gauntlet, but you don't like decorating. Well, I would say that maybe trying to talk with some people to see if maybe you can do ideas together so that it lessens the load on you. But definitely make sure that, like, hey, like if it is a collab that or a project that you're hosting, make sure that you still like. I do think that a host has a lot of job to do as a host already, but if you really want to be a good host, you really should participate in your collabs too. We tested it naturally. Rotating was worse. Rotating is worse in keyframes if it's a very, very big amount of objects, but it is slightly better, if I remember correctly, if it is a small amount of objects. Why did Wrapped Up make Area's kill so laggy? It's the most useful trigger ever. Because Area's area triggers are by themselves are very demanding on resources. If you know anything about like actual memory storage in games and how the triggers work, you'll actually realize that yeah, it makes sense. They are some of the most powerful and strong triggers in the entire game. Actually, they might just be that and the gradient are like some of the most powerful triggers in the game. It makes total sense. I want to make an 8-star, but I can only make demon gameplay. Ooh, maybe get somebody else to make gameplay for you then. Having somebody else talk to you about gameplay is, help you with the gameplay is definitely good. You can also get people. Oh my god, I'm so tired. You can also get people to help you by playtesting and then telling you, hey, these parts are harder than these parts are easier. Maybe you should change this. You have drawn so much stuff. Nice. We also have some ideas that we've written down, but you know, we'll see how it goes. Next crab soon when? Whenever there's a crab gauntlet. If there ever is a crab gauntlet, we will be making next crab soon. Will it be your turn to get a mythic raid whenever you host a project, Loco? Whenever you're down to host the whole thing and put everything down. Whenever we're done with our platformer, probably. Give us like 2 years to get the platformer done, and then probably that'll do it. Gradient isn't laggy at all, really? That's not exactly true. Gradient by itself is not laggy because the biggest part of gradient is the dots by themselves that are the center points that you're using to create the gradient are not laggy themselves. The thing that makes gradient lagging a lot is when you have a lot of gradients on the same screen, because the render system that GD uses is not made to render gradients very well. That is also why glow lags a lot. The more glow that you have on a screen, the more chances of something lagging. Because, well, that's also because the glow is very unoptimized, but it still works essentially the same. It's just very much more optimized now. Hello, Lily. How's it going? You're a bit late, but hopefully if you want to check on me talking about your part, you can check the VOD out. I'm sure that people would be nice to put on some timestamps like they did with the Astroliths VOD. Can we have Leah get taken away by a crab instead of a cab? Well, this is not Leah. Just to point that out, I am Leah, which is very funny that a lot of people do think that she is Leah. Which, to be fair, people did warn me that it was gonna happen, but I still decided to, you know, not really care. This is the signature of my part, basically. So yeah, I made the little things. I actually really like the texture that I used for these. These are just like circles that I warped to make these this graffiti. I think it looks really sick. I don't know why. I definitely just popped off with that. We actually do not have a name for her, chat. It has been 2 months since the level released, and we still do not have a name for this character. It's called Gertrude. I don't think we're calling her Gertrude. If there's a Monster Cat Gauntlet in Crab Rave by Noise Tour visit the library, next crab soon has to happen. We'll see. That'll be a hard pitch to the chat. It's okay, Lily. You're allowed to be late. It is understandable. Should be named something that abbreviates to MC. Melucrab? Melucab? Pause. Who had the coin idea for next capsule? That was me, with the help of Loco. We workshopped that together. NCS Girl. I feel like NCS Girl makes it feel like No Copyright Sounds has like a mascot, and I'm not giving them that. They didn't even give me the $800. We got less than that, so I'm not giving them the girl. It's so nice of Geo to let you stream on this account, Leah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So special thanks to GeoGamer12 for giving me access to their account and their GD account and their YouTube account, so I can stream. I love the fact that a lot of people still don't know the fact that ArcLeah and GeoGamer12 are indeed the same person. They are both me. I am her. Holy shit. And so I think it's very funny because a lot of people ask me like, oh my god, I didn't know that you're like GeoGamer12, or like, oh my god, I didn't know you two were the same people. And mostly with Melu Melu, because I put in the description that it was a collab with GeoGamer12, and a lot of people didn't understand the joke. Obviously, it's a collab with GeoGamer12. It's just very, very funny that every single level that has come out since like Pastel Pulse, actually since Aether, has my name as Leah. I have never signed any of my collabs as GeoGamer12. And so people don't put two and two together. Even on my YouTube channel, whenever I credit myself on the parts that are mine in the description, I put Leah. So it's just super funny. Mellow crab. It sounds so bad. Bartholomew. Ooh. Bartholomew. Natalie Cecilia Saunders. Jesus Christ, that's a name. Bring back Geo, we need more Evermore parts. Oh my god, that's a throwback. I haven't thought of Evermore in years. It's a really cool collab by Sir Hidoken. Actually, let's go play it. Might as well. Wrong song idea, I would assume. It's not Mythic. That is true. Part 3 Electro. I love the fact that that is the name of the song. Part 3 Electro. That is loud. I love this level. I'm so sad it never got epic, because it definitely, I definitely think that it could have gotten it back then. Bolly. All of the people who worked on this level are such nice people. They're so fun. Oh my god, it's Desperate. Holy shit. No way, Desperate. In chat. J-Ghost. This song's so old that it shows. Like, it's like, this song's probably like 6-7 years old at this point. It's so old. Oh my god, I can't believe it. J-Ghost gameplay. Nope. I remember this level looking so much better back then, but it looks so generic. It's so crazy. Oh my god, this gameplay. Oh my god, this gameplay. Okay, chat, we're about to peak. Very, very soon. We have Luminix first. Well, but we're about to peak very, very soon. Best part in the entire level. Failure 444. We have, I think this is Rafer. This is probably like one of my most high profile collabs at the time. Like when I joined this, like I was absolutely like a fucking nobody. I feel like a still I am, but yeah, this part was crazy. Holy shit, GeoGamer 12 part chat. GeoGamer 12 part chat. Best part of the level. We peaked. I went from being a generic design creator to being generic art creator. Nem. Is this Nemtar? Wait, or is this Nempak? Which one was that? I forget which one it was. Sir Tracks, which haven't heard of in a very long time. I think this was Pause, right? Oh my god, that is a big lag. TD Epic. Oh my god, I haven't heard the name TD Epic in so long. Evermore. Yeah, it was Numpack, okay. I was like, that is not Nemtar. Nemtar would have done a crazy good part. Thanks for the kind words about me and Skips. Right? Casey, you popped off. You know that you're absolutely goated when it comes to making stuff. Damn. This song's so old. That is crazy. What a lineup. What a crazy lineup. I think we just called her Cab Girl during development. Yeah, we definitely did. No, we don't see the broken end screen. Hold up. I can break the end screen. Give me a second. Give me a second, chat. I can make this perfect. We just gotta sit here for another 30 minutes. Can I make this bigger? I'm sure that I can probably make that bigger with mods. Alright, chat. We are speeding through the end screen, and we are gonna see it bug out eventually. Bally was one of your favorite creators back then. Bally's so cool. They're so nice. I had a collab with them. Early 2.1. We never finished it, unfortunately. Jacobs be everywhere? For real. Jacobs, there was a time where Jacobs was just everywhere in every single collab. Other than the average bussin' enjoyer, I've been in this game for way too long, and some of y'all know. I've been here for soon 11 years. Which is kind of crazy to think about, that it's almost been 11 years since I've played this game for the first time. Way too much time passes by. Okay, chat, any more questions? Any more questions about the level, the creating process of it, the end art, anything at all? And else we're just gonna be here for another 15 minutes waiting until this breaks. I fell off after Evermore? True! Evermore was my peak and I never did anything better than that. I suggest name Estella for the girl. Estella? That's cute. That's really cute. I feel like, it did slow back down, huh? There's probably a trigger at the end where their level ends and it changes it. Have you shown the concept art? I've shown a little bit of it. I've shown Lily's concept art. I showed my concept art. But most of it is on Twitter. I think there's a couple of the creators who posted their own concept art, and if not, then it should be on my Twitter. So I would recommend y'all to check it out. Though I will say that I do think that I'm gonna start removing shit from Twitter because I do not like the new changes that Twitter have had, and it's annoying as shit. So, you know. Okay, apologies, chat, for checking if the audio was still working. I don't think you heard that anyway, but... Estella means started in Spanish. Yeah, and telephone. I think Estella means actually, it's not star, it's when it like it glows and it brightens up. It's estrella. But Estella, I think it's still a word in Spanish, but it means something else. 10 more stops once you get the level. Oh, I see. I guess we're gonna be here for a while, chat. I think I fixed the issue with it breaking, so now it should not be, like, visible. I can definitely break it and have y'all, see the breaking. Do you think the next capsule is harder or easier than the incinerator? Definitely easier. I think that capsule should not even be a demon. I think next capsule should be like an 8 stars, but the Robbed Up definitely doesn't think so. And I think a lot of the people who play the level definitely think that it's a demon, because it requires you to like learn it a little bit. But when it actually comes to the level, it's really not all that. It's definitely a lot easier than people make it out to be. Question is Cab Girl better than Summer Gallery Girl? That is not up to me, Chad, but, you know, I personally like Cab Girl a little bit more, just a tiny little bit, not too much more. But if y'all like Summer Gallery Girl, that is very valid. I think NCS is harder because Incinerator is like a 9-star. I think Incinerator has a bit of an issue of, like, the gameplay, it's not hard, it's just that it just has indicators everywhere, and if you just you don't even need to look at the level, you can just click at the indicators and just look for the indicators and then clear it on your first attempt. It's not a hard level, it's because it has indicators everywhere, and I don't like that. I don't like that it just has indicators everywhere, because it's just like, oh, I can just, it's literally just turn your brain off, beat the level. What's my favorite color palette? Well, my favorite color is turquoise. So whenever I work with a lot of things, I try to incorporate turquoise, but turquoise doesn't mesh super well with a lot of other colors, so it becomes a little bit harder to work with it. I like to work with blues a lot. I like to work with colder colors. Something like cyan or like very deep dark saturated blues, or like very like grayish greens, or very like lilac purples. Like those are some of the tones that I really like to work around with. Indicators are cool because they fill space in cool ways. I think for the most part that is true. Your statement is very, very true. However, I think that the way that people use indicators is not true. Hold up, chap. I am receiving I just received an email from DoorDash telling me that they're getting sued, which is very funny. I'm not reading all that, but very funny, nonetheless. Summer Gallagher versus a Cap Girl epic rap battles of history. Actually, chat question, because I've been thinking of doing this. This is a very, very actual real idea that I'm trying to run, and I need y'all's opinion on this. So, would y'all be down to make a tier list, or not a tier list, sorry, a ranking game? So basically, what I have in mind is that I'm gonna put like a bracket form style of combat. So we would have like for example, like NCS versus Astrolith. And then whichever, and like we have chat vote on which one is their favorite, and then progress into the next one. We would have a battle style, and then we would choose maybe like, I don't know, like 100 levels, and then we would run this. Obviously, I'll do like a suggestion poll, or like a poll or something on like a community tab, but this is something that I've been wanting to run. Just like seeing what people actually like more, and seeing what people actually fight for. Because I know that I hear a lot of opinions about like, oh my god, this is the best level ever. But that is usually from the wider community, and I actually am very, very interested in seeing what y'all in my community actually like. Because I know that some of you really like NCS, some of you like Astralis, some of you like Rage Quit by Blee, some of you like Pixel Path too. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. I want to see what people think is the best level in GD. And I feel like this is the way of doing it. So I've been thinking of doing a little stream where we do one of these things and actually go through like the 100 best levels that have ever been released. And again, this can go all the way back from like 1.0. We can go all the way from the beginning, and like you can include like Darnock levels or funny game levels that you think still hold up as the best level in the game. So like Desmond can be in here. And obviously, a lot of people, I'll need you to judge with your soul. Actually, not that way. Not with your heart, but with your brain. And so, to tell me what you actually think is a better level. And we'll have to come up to a decision. Now, we can do this with only 2.2 levels, which I think could be really fun. Or we can do this with any level in the game. Like, we can include things like Change of Scene, White Space, Dreamflower, and stuff like that. A way that I thought this could be really interesting is that we could play like community games, and whoever wins the community game like gets to like rank up one thing at some point and put like 100 votes on one end, you know. That's Moon versus Extra, exactly. Like, for example, we play a community game, say like we play like marbles, and then Maddie wins it. And then Maddie's like, I want, for this round, NCS to go up. So Maddie gives plus 20 votes to NCS. So that gives like a very, very big advantage to NCS. Which could be really funny as well, if you want to make this a little bit more interactive. But anyway, we'll come around to this. I think that this could be really interesting. Something that I've been thinking about. It's a stream idea that I've been thinking about. And I'm pitching all to you because I think this could be really fun. What is... wait. Now we need Catboy. I don't think Catboy is happening anytime soon. I think for the most part, we are sticking with Catgirl for a while. You're correct on marbles? For sure, for sure. So yeah, I've been thinking of ways to like have y'all be a little bit more involved in the actual streams and have some community nights. I think I'm gonna start. I have been thinking of streaming more often on Twitch, so we'll be seeing some Twitch streams where I'll be maybe playing some community games. So if y'all want to keep up to date with that, make sure to join the penthouse. Link is in the description, and yeah, make sure to know that stuff. I really wish right now that I had a speed hack so that I could just get to the end of the level, right? Like, not the end of the level, but like the time where the thing starts glitching. Because I don't think you'll be seeing it glitch anytime soon. It's really unfortunate. Catboy is at the end of WannaCry. Oh yeah, that is true. Catboy is at the end of WannaCry. He's just kind of dead. For sure, we don't know the gender of the skeleton at the end of WannaCry, so you know what? I'm not gonna assume it either. Could very much be a they them. They are dead, so. You have no mega hack? No, I've never. Well, no, that's not true. Oh, well, chat, it's not happening. I accidentally clicked on my spacebar. I don't play with hacks. I've had mega hack before, but not anymore. Okay, well, rip the dream. We're gonna have a next stream where I'm probably gonna just vibe out, and we're gonna have that in the background, so remind me of this, chat. Anyway, thank y'all so much for watching today. I think I'm gonna end stream here. It's gonna be, surprisingly enough, the same length as yesterday's stream, but I'm gonna keep it shorter on the shorter end today, because I have a couple things to do, and so hope y'all have a good rest of your night. Thank y'all so much for being here. I very much appreciate y'all being around. If any of the VOD watchers have any questions that have not been answered to during the stream, please make sure to post them in the description. Oh my god, the comments. Please make sure to post your questions in the comments. I'll answer them if I actually if you post any. I'm very, very open about that stuff. Oh, last thing, chat. Pt.2 has a question. Can I make a Mortal Kombat type platformer that has a Summer Gallery girl and a Cap girl, or have them fight 1v1 against each other? I'll make like a pixel art chibi version of both of them and have them fight to the death. Welcome, Aqua. I'm gonna end stream very soon. Can you use the coin idea for next cap? I mean, the coin idea is not necessarily something that I've like put copyright on. It is definitely something that like I'm sure people have thought of before. We were just kind of the first ones or the bigger ones to do it. I don't know if it's ever been done before. But yeah, absolutely. I think that the idea of it is something that's cool. Obviously, I know that not in every single level it's gonna work as well, but you know. Patenting a GD mechanic is crazy. I have a couple of them actually that I've discovered and that are actually very used in the community nowadays, but they don't know that it originates from me. That's one of the side effects of being on this community for so long. But it's cool. It's cool. Who would win in a fight between Zender, Sub, and Peter? Probably Subpixel. Anyways, last thing I want to talk about, chat. I was actually thinking of doing a Reddit AMA. So going on the Geometry Dash subreddit, which is going to be very funny, and posting and Ask Me Anything. So I would just put it there, and we would actually answer to the questions on stream. Thoughts on that, chat? Before we end it. Thoughts on that? I think that could be really fun, because we could actually troll some people. But obviously, I'll try to answer the questions very faithfully. But as you all know, we do have a couple of inside jokes in this chat that are pretty fun. And mellowing on those people could be really interesting too. So I'll be very curious to hear out what any of you think could be really fun. But if y'all think it's a good idea, maybe I'll run it. If y'all think I shouldn't do it and that Reddit's gonna be cancerous, I might also not run it. Who knows? Reddit is always, you know, coin flip. I do think it seems fun. Yeah, I think I'm gonna probably reach out to some of the mods if they're open to talking about it. I don't know how to contact any of them, but to see if like, hey, like, is make sure to like, I don't know, do a good job at moderating here. I'm pretty sure they already do, but I I'll probably just post shit it and be like, hey, I'm the creator of Next Cap Soon and Astrolith, and ask me anything. I think that's probably gonna be the way to go, that's truth. Honestly, I'll probably title them very similar to how I title the streams. I know that some people might have an issue with saying that I made the mythics, and of course, I've always made sure to be very open and transparent about the fact that I didn't make these things by myself. This was a collaborative effort with tons of people that were involved in this, and so yeah. Okay, well, I see that y'all seem interested in this, so I'll definitely think about it and probably do it tomorrow. So we might have a stream for, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe for Friday. Because I think tomorrow I'm going to take my day off for this week. My voice seems to be struggling after so many streams back to back of talking so much. But yes, thank you so much everybody for being here today. It is so fun to do these streams talking about these levels. I'm very happy that y'all are enjoying these. Yesterday's stream was great. It was so much fun. So I hope y'all have a good rest of your night. And Subway Surfers. And bye-bye.